Hello everyone, my name is Mehek. Welcome back. I hope you guys are doing fine and you guys are safe. I also hope that you've had a wonderful past 1 week and that you're reading. For me, it was a little low mentally. Uh, no specific reason, but I think I'm so glad that I had the books for the pleasant distraction and for the comfort, for the much needed comfort. And I think that's the beauty of the books. Coming back to a beautiful, heartwarming read that I finished reading. In fact, when you go and look about this book online, there's a common sentiment that is shared among all the readers is that what a heartwarming read this has been, and I feel exactly the same. It's called I Came Upon a Lighthouse by Shantanu Naidu. It's a short memoir of life with Ratan Tata. So, to be honest, when I picked up this book, we as Indians, we all have always admired Ratan Tata, and he comes across from whatever we've seen and read about him, he comes across a very, a kind and a very likable leader. And that was the whole idea about picking up this book to read more about him. And also because this book promised not his professional milestones, but the other side, which is which is more kind and which talks about more about his people skills and yeah, a more personal side. So the idea was to read more about it and fall in love with all the more with his personality. And the book did that. Obviously the book did that. At the end of the day, I admire him more as a person, and one can only hope that they can try and be like him. But I think what this book did for me was that when I closed the book, I fell in love with Shantanu Naidu's, who's the author, his personality. His journey is so inspiring, and he comes across as someone who is also very kind and bright, and he's written this book with so much simplicity and honesty that you can't help but fall in love with this book and the author both. So I think at the end of the day, that was a special thing that this book did, that not just Ratan Tata, I'm now a fan of Shantanu Naidu as well. Coming to the book is about his journey. So Shantanu was he was an automobile engineer, and one day when he was coming back, he was on his Activa and he was coming back home, and he discovered this white dog. He lay in his pool of his own blood, and he was run over by a few vehicles. And Shantanu has always been someone who has had empathy for dogs, and this incident really filled him up with a lot of grief. And what he did was, he started talking to people who were involved in the similar incidents, wherein accidents wherein they were involved in this similar situation when they had run over a dog, and they were guilty about it. And he found out that all of them shared this common sentiment that the dog appeared suddenly, and obviously they didn't want to do it, but they didn't realize from where did he appear from. And the streets were not lit properly, and they couldn't see him. So these were the common sentiments, and thus what uh, got born out of all this was Motopaws. Moto standing for riders and Paws standing for dogs. Motopaws, an organization which Shantanu started with his friends, that basically started making these reflective collars, which were made of denim and reflective tapes, which when put around the dog basically made them visible from far and made them shine. And the riders, or people in the car, could see them. And they did really well. They tied up with Harley Davidson, and they made these 500 collars, and people started noticing them, what they were doing, and started appreciating their initiative as well. Now everything was going great for Shantanu, and one day he decides to write a letter to Ratan Tata informing about Motopaws. Because everyone knows that Ratan Tata also shares empathy and compassion for stray dogs. So Shantanu decides to write a letter to him. Now obviously he didn't expect a reply, because he's Ratan Tata and he gets so many letters every day. So he didn't really expect a reply from him. But much to his surprise, not only Ratan Tata writes him back, appreciating his wonderful initiative, but he also decides to, meet him, which was, you know, which kind of the that one meeting changes Shantanu's life completely, because what unfolds is a beautiful relationship between a mentor and a mentee. We soon see Ratan Tata becoming a mentor, a friend, and a boss to Shantanu. We also read about Shantanu's journey from being an automobile engineer to going to Cornwall and pursuing his MBA, and then finally finding his way back to Tata Trust and working for Ratan Tata. You read about how. I think my favorite part was, reading about Ratan Tata and Shantanu Naidu's interactions. You read about how, Ratan Tata, allows him in his life and in his world, and you know, you see this side of Ratan Tata, which I said is so generous and kind, and you realize what a wonderful this human being is, and at the end of the day, you would want to hope and wish to be like him in ways more than one. You would want to meet Ratan Tata once in your lifetime, and I think. Shantanu, describes him wonderfully. He says he's such a wise owl with a soft heart. So I think reading about Ratan Tata and his interactions with Shantanu were, actually my favorite. Also because, it beautifully brings out their relationship, and the author Shantanu, with, like I said, with so much simplicity and honesty, he's put down those emotions of interacting with the big legend, and being around him and working for him, that you can't help but fall in love, with the book, with the author, and with this relationship that Shantanu and Ratan Tata enjoys. And yeah, that's what makes this book special. Another thing that I think that makes this book really special is the illustrations. It's written here, it's done by Sanjana Desai. And, the book is actually filled with a lot of illustrations. I think the book would have been incomplete without them. But my obviously favorite one is with Shantanu sitting with Ratan Tata in his library. And the illustrations are so realistic and so beautiful, and I think if I can't imagine this book without the illustration, that's all I can say. Also, this book was also more about a mentor and a mentee relationship. So if you're someone who has a mentor in their life, and you happen to be in a situation to be working around them, like I'm in a situation right now when I'm working for my mentor, and I could relate to everything what Shantanu has written. The nervousness, the excitement, the feeling of not coming across as dumb, not letting them down, and all those feelings together that you feel when you're working with your mentor. I could relate to each one of them. Like when I was reading it, it felt like that Shantanu has exactly mirrored those my feelings and put them on these pages. So I think that was a beautiful thing. And another thing, what I like about this book is that he has dedicated this book to his dog called Winter. Also, all the author proceeds from this book are going to go for the welfare of the animals, which I think is a wonderful thing. And that all the more makes you admire a young author. Now I'm going to read some of the favorite things in the book, as always. Okay. The first thing that Shantanu says is, I often seen many times in my own life instances where you may deserve something, but it doesn't always mean it will be handed to you without an initial struggle or at the time when you want it. So we all have experiences. Not all the time we get things in life when we want it, and obviously we need to put in a lot of struggle. Um, Another, beautiful thing that he shares that I could relate to as well was, that when he shares things, what he loves is that when I share them, it's not a popularity thing. I'm not sharing them to become popular, but it's a character trait, that when I experience something beautiful, I want everyone to experience it with me. And that's exactly what I do when I talk about books. If I have experienced a book and I've learned something from it, and it has left an impact for me, that's the whole thing, idea of being here and talking it out to you guys. That's what I want to do, because it has impacted me and made me grow as an individual. I feel that, it can help each one of you as well. And yeah, that was one thing. And he also says, that when you, like, he never thought that all of us could be a part of his story, but writing the book gave him the chance, gave us the chance to be a part of his story, to go to Cornwall and experience his MBA journey, or to be a part of Mr. Tata and his interactions. So I think that's the whole beauty of sharing, your experiences and your stories with others. Um, And a beautiful quote: in the end, no matter how well you think you have designed a dream, or how great an architect you think you are, you don't really end up with the version you want. Your happy ending might not always look the way you always imagined it, but it can always be more better. You never know. Also, because this book is, the whole initiative of Motopaws, and he dedicating this book to dogs. So there's a general love for dogs in the book, and he says this beautiful thing. I don't know who the architect of the universe is, but he did create something that we as a race can rely on, eyes closed and hearts open. You know, those wonderful creatures are dogs, and I think they are the greatest gift to human beings, though I'm not sure if we deserve them all the time because they're just so amazing. Another important thing, which this is for all the HRs. I really hope they read this and come across this and start practicing it. If you give an interview and then you get told you were rejected, but that's all you know, they don't tell you why. You don't know which parts of yourself to work on. This leaves candidates to assume reasons, which is just cruel. Self doubt and low self worth follows, which is, I think, really bad. So I really hope that, HRs do follow it. They just don't reject you, but they also tell you the reason for you to grow and improve yourself professionally. Um, Last quote. So, he says that when he was working with his friend Ratan Tata, and mentor, he didn't expect, he didn't expect days to go tough, but there were days when Ratan Tata was really tough to him. And, he says that molding doesn't happen with cotton and wool. It happens with heat and hammer. It happens with confrontation, criticism, and uncomfortable conversation, because he thought that he's a friend and a mentor, he might avoid it. But he says, that's not how your molding happens. You need to go through the whole process of confrontations and criticism and hammering, and that's how you learn and grow as an individual. So yeah, that's all on this beautiful book. The author says in this book, towards the end, that this book comes from the place of heart and love, and I think that's what this book is all about. It's all hearts, and it's a very feel good read. So do give it a try. I just Yeah, I just love this book. So please give it a try. You will fall in love with not just Ratan Tata, even more, but also this beautiful young author Shantanu Naidu. There's so much to pick from his inspiring journey. That's all on this book. I'll see you guys next week with another book. Take care. Bye bye.